The first thing I noticed when I walked into the ballroom wasn't the flowers, or the music, or the giant chandelier hanging above. It was the rows and rows of chairs lined up neatly in front of the altar. Every seat had a name card. Every seat was filled with someone smiling, adjusting their clothes, ready for pictures. Except there wasn't one for me. I stopped in the middle of the aisle, my heels clicking against the polished floor. A couple of guests turned their heads, eyes sliding over me, then back to their conversations. I scanned the front row bride's parents, smiling proudly. Groom's side, some cousins, old friends, even neighbors. But my name? Nowhere. I stepped closer, whispering to the usher standing nearby. "Excuse me, could you tell me where my seat is?" He looked down at his clipboard, flipped a page, then frowned. "A Carter? Margaret Carter?" "Yes," I said, my voice sharp. He hesitated. "I don't see your name here." "Ma'am." The words hit harder than I expected. "That's impossible. I'm the groom's mother." The usher gave me an awkward smile, lowering his voice. "Maybe you should check with the family." Turn, my eyes locking on Kevin, my son. He was standing near the altar, adjusting his tie, looking handsome, looking grown, but the moment he saw me, his smile faltered. I marched up the aisle, ignoring the whispers. "Kevin, where's my seat?" He shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Madison, his bride, who was busy posing for a photographer. "Mom, can we not do this right now?" He muttered. "Not do this?" I snapped. "I just walked into a wedding I paid $300,000 for, and there's no chair with my name on it." His face flushed. "Keep your voice down." Madison turned then, her white gown glittering under the lights. She looked me up and down like I was a stranger who had wandered in off the street. "Oh, Margaret, we figured you'd be more comfortable in the back." "Less pressure." "Less pressure?" I repeated. Kevin rubbed the back of his neck. "It's just things got crowded. We had to prioritize." "Prioritize?" My voice rose. Guests were definitely staring now. "You prioritized everyone but your own mother?" Madison's smile tightened. "Margaret, please, don't make a scene." A scene. That's what she called it. A scene. When I had spent months writing checks, meeting with planners, approving every detail. $300,000, my retirement savings, my comfort, gone to create this fairy tale for them. And they didn't even save me a chair. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're from, because imagine being the mother of the groom, spending $300,000 on the wedding, and being told you don't even have a seat at the ceremony. I felt the heat rise in my chest, but I forced my voice steady. "Kevin, tell me this is a mistake." He swallowed hard. "Mom, let's talk later." "Okay." "Later?" I stepped closer, lowering my voice, but not enough to hide the fury shaking it. "No, we're talking now." The photographer lowered his camera. The music softened. Conversations dropped around us. Madison leaned into Kevin, whispering not so softly. This is exactly why I didn't want her in the front. My hands curled into fists. "What did you say?" She straightened, her voice dripping with sugar. "I just think it's better for the pictures. Cleaner. Less distraction." Distraction. That's what she called me. I took a deep breath, staring straight into my son's eyes. "Kevin, tell your wife I'm not a distraction. Tell me where my seat is." He opened his mouth, closed it again, glancing at Madison. She gave a little shrug, her hand tightening on his arm. And that silence, that weak, pathetic silence, told me everything. I turned slowly, my heels striking hard against the floor, every eye in the room following me, waiting to see what I would do next. As Kevin whispered something to Madison and she smirked back at him while the usher shifted nervously behind me, still clutching his clipboard but not daring to say a word. I didn't leave the ballroom. I refused. Instead, I stood near the back, my hands gripping my clutch so tightly the fabric cut into my palm. Guests turned in their seats to stare. Some whispered behind manicured hands. Others didn't bother lowering their voices. Isn't that the groom's mother? Why is she standing? Didn't they give her a chair? Maybe she wasn't invited. Not invited. I bit down on the inside of my cheek so hard I tasted blood. From the front row, Madison's mother twisted around, her pearls gleaming under the lights. She gave me a smile so fake it dripped poison. Margaret, don't look so upset. Standing will give you a better view. A ripple of laughter spread through the guests nearest her. I forced my lips into a line. I prefer to sit. Her smile sharpened. Well, I suppose not everyone gets what they prefer. The people around her chuckled again, eyes flicking between me and Kevin like they were watching a show. Kevin sat stiffly, staring at his hands, refusing to meet my gaze. Madison leaned over, whispering something in his ear. Whatever it was made him shift uncomfortably, but he still didn't look up. Another guest, a man I barely recognized from Kevin's work, muttered just loud enough for me to hear. Imagine spending all that money and not even getting a seat. Couldn't be me. His companion snickered. My grip on the clutch tightened. Every word was a slap. Madison's father joined in then, booming loud so everyone could hear. Margaret, you should relax. Today isn't about you. It's about the couple. I wanted to scream, to tell them that without me, there wouldn't be flowers draped across the arch, or crystal glasses set on linen, or the damn chandelier glowing above their heads. Without me, there wouldn't even be a ballroom. But the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I stood there, cheeks burning, nails digging into my palm. Kevin shifted finally, his eyes flicking toward me for the briefest second before darting away. He said nothing. Madison smiled wide for the photographer, tilting her head against his shoulder like she hadn't just orchestrated the most public humiliation of my life. The ceremony music swelled, violins filling the silence. But the whispers didn't stop. She looks furious. Maybe she's jealous. Or maybe they just didn't want her ruining the pictures. I felt each murmur like another stone added to my chest. The officiant stepped forward, beginning the ceremony. His voice solemn and grand. I barely heard him. My eyes were fixed on my son, standing tall, smiling for everyone but me. When the guests rose for the vows, I stayed where I was, rooted to the back, my body stiff. Someone bumped into me, muttering, "Move, please," as if I were just another piece of furniture in the way. My breath shook, my vision blurred, and still, I didn't walk out, because walking out would mean surrender. Instead, I stood straighter, forcing myself to watch every moment, every kiss, every cheer, every clap of hands, burn itself into my memory, so that when the time came, I wouldn't forget a single detail of what they had done to me. The applause thundered as the officiant declared them husband and wife. Madison raised her bouquet high, beaming, while Kevin kissed her. Guests cheered. Confetti burst into the air, and I stood alone, pressed against the back wall, my nails digging crescents into my palm, as Madison's mother turned once more and said sweetly, "Don't worry, Margaret. You'll find a seat at the reception. Maybe." The laughter that followed was louder this time, spilling across the aisle, while Kevin's eyes darted back to me again, just for a heartbeat, before he looked away once more and the music drowned out everything else around me. The ceremony was over, and everyone shuffled toward the reception hall. The smell of roasted meat and fresh bread drifted through the air. Laughter bubbled around me as couples linked arms and guests compared notes on how beautiful the vows had been. I walked slowly, my clutch clamped under my arm. Still no usher came to guide me, no seat card with my name. When I stepped into the hall, it was breathtaking. Long tables draped in ivory linen, golden chargers gleaming, champagne flutes already half full. A live band tuned their instruments in the corner. Every detail was flawless. Every detail I had paid for. I moved along the edge of the room, scanning for a card with my name. Row after row, table after table. Nothing. Finally, I asked a server setting down plates. Excuse me. Where am I seated? He blinked at me. Nervous. I'm not sure. Let me check with the coordinator. He hurried off before I could press. From the far side of the hall, I saw Madison and her parents huddled together. Madison's gown sparkled under the lights as she leaned in close to her mother, laughing. Kevin was beside them, nodding, avoiding my eyes. I started to move toward them, but then I stopped, because their voices carried. Can you believe she actually showed up? Madison said, her tone dripping disdain. Her mother laughed softly. I told you she would. People like her always come back, even when they're not wanted. Kevin shifted uncomfortably. She wanted to support us. Madison rolled her eyes. Support? Kevin. She's done her part. She paid. That's all she's good for. Look around, this is her contribution. And now it's ours. My stomach dropped. Her father added, chuckling. Exactly. 30 grand. 300 grand, it doesn't matter. Money is money. And now that she's out of the way, you two can live without strings attached. Madison smirked, her voice low but sharp. She'll be gone soon enough. And honestly, it's cleaner this way. We don't need her clinging to us, ruining every picture with her sad face. Kevin mumbled something I couldn't catch. Madison cut him off quickly. She's not important. Kevin. Not anymore. She's just the ATM. TM. The word echoed in my ears, louder than the clink of glasses, louder than the chatter around me. I stumbled back a step, nearly colliding with a guest. Careful. The woman snapped, giving me a look of irritation before brushing past. I stood frozen, my breath shallow, watching my son nod along to his wife's words. He didn't correct her. He didn't defend me. He just let it stand. The band struck up a lively tune, signaling the start of dinner service. Guests cheered, raising glasses. Plates clattered. Servers moved swiftly down the aisles. Still no one brought me to a seat. I slipped out the side door instead, the cool night air hitting my face like a slap. I leaned against the wall, clutching my clutch, trying to steady my breathing. Inside, I could hear the music, the laughter, the voices praising Madison's dress, the speeches beginning. My son's voice rose above the others, laughing along with his new in-laws. I pressed my back harder against the wall, whispering to myself, TM. That's all I am to them. The door creaked open slightly. A server poked his head out, startled to see me there. Ma'am? Are you not inside? I shook my head. He hesitated, then lowered his voice. I heard them. What they said. I'm sorry. I swallowed, forcing a smile. Don't be. It's not your fault. He nodded quickly, retreating back inside. I stayed there, the night air chilling my skin, until the sound of Madison's laughter drifted through the door again, sharp and victorious, while my hand shook against the wall and I fought the urge to storm back in and tear the whole charade apart. I didn't walk away from the building that night. I couldn't. My feet wouldn't carry me far. Not with the music pounding through the walls and Madison's laughter echoing in my ears like a hammer. Instead, I circled the side of the hotel until I found the service entrance. Staff bustled in and out, carrying trays, adjusting flowers, whispering into headsets. They barely looked at me, just another mother in formal clothes, out of place. I caught the eye of the coordinator, a woman in a navy blazer holding a clipboard. Excuse me. She turned, professional smile plastered on. Yet, ma'am? I straightened my shoulders. I want to see the contract for this wedding. Her brows knit together. The contract? Yet, I said firmly. The one with my signature on it. The one I wrote checks for. I'd like to see it now. She hesitated, eyes flicking toward the bustle behind her. This is highly irregular. Usually only the couple. I'm the one who paid. Cut in. My voice sharp enough to make her flinch. $300,000. You don't move a single flower in that ballroom without my money. So don't tell me what's irregular. Show me the contract. Her lips parted, closed, then opened again. She studied me for a moment, then sighed. Follow me. We wove through narrow hallways until we reached a small office lined with binders. She rifled through a drawer, pulled out a thick folder, and laid it on the desk. There, she said quietly. I opened it with trembling hands. My name, Margaret Carter, was printed clearly at the top. My signature scrawled across page after page. Every deposit, every installment, every service tied back to me. Not Madison. Not Kevin. Me. The coordinator cleared her throat. Is there a problem? I stared at the pages. Depends who you ask. She shifted uncomfortably. Everything's been executed exactly as requested. If there's something you'd like changed for the reception. I looked up sharply. Changed? You mean stopped? Her eyes widened. Stopped? I tapped the contract. This is mine. My money. My authority. If I tell you to pull the plug right now, you're obligated to listen. She froze. Technically, yes. But, Mrs. Carter, that would cause chaos. The vendors, the staff, the guests. I leaned closer. Chaos is what they gave me when they stripped me of my seat. Chaos is what I'll give back. The coordinator swallowed hard, lowering her gaze. Do you want me to prepare for that? I closed the folder slowly, my heartbeat steadying for the first time all night. Not yet. But when I give the signal, you'll stop everything. Understood? Her voice was almost a whisper. Understood. I tucked the folder under my arm and stood. My reflection in the office window startled me. Eyes sharp. Chin lifted. Nothing like the woman who had been shoved aside in the ceremony. As I stepped back into the hallway, servers rushed past with trays of champagne. The music from the ballroom swelling louder. Guests were laughing, dancing, clinking glasses, oblivious. I walked toward the sound, the folder pressed tight against my side. Every laugh, every cheer, every flash of Madison's white gown through the doorway only hardened my resolve. This wasn't over. Not yet. I found myself standing in the shadow of the doorway, watching as Kevin raised a glass for a toast. His voice carried strong and smooth. To my wife, the most beautiful woman in the world. Applause thundered. Madison leaned into him, grinning. And me? I stood in the dark, clutching the contract, my fingers tightening with every cheer. As the coordinator's voice replayed in my head. Technically, yes. The music swelled again, drowning out my thoughts. While I pressed the folder harder against my chest and stepped back into the hall, the hinges of the service door groaning softly as I pulled it shut behind me, and the sound of my son's laughter cut off like a switch. The reception was in full swing by the time I stepped back into the ballroom. The band was playing. Couples were dancing. Champagne flowed like water. Madison twirled across the floor in her gown, Kevin smiling beside her as guests clapped to the beat. The laughter was deafening. The lights glowed golden, and every glittering detail screamed of the $300,000 I had poured into this night. I stood at the edge of the dance floor, clutching the contract against my chest. My pulse was steady, my breath calm. For hours they had laughed at me, dismissed me, treated me as if I were invisible. Not anymore. The band launched into another song, the singer calling out for everyone to raise their glasses. Madison's parents were already on their feet, clinking crystal with anyone in reach. I stepped forward. The clack of my heels echoed louder than the music. Heads began to turn. Conversations faltered. The band stumbled to a halt, one note hanging awkwardly in the air before silence swallowed the room. I walked straight to the center of the dance floor. My son's smile froze. Madison stopped mid-laugh, bouquet in hand, eyes narrowing. I lifted the folder high. This wedding, this party, all of this. My voice rang clear. I paid for it. Gasps rippled across the tables. Kevin rushed forward, panic in his eyes. Mom, sit down. Please. I ignored him. $300,000. Every flower, every plate, every song you've heard tonight exists because of me. And yet when I walked in, there was no seat. No place for the groom's mother. The crowd stirred. Phones were already out. Screens glowing as guests recorded. Madison recovered first. Her smile brittle. Margaret, you're making a scene. I turned the contract toward the nearest camera. Scene? No. This is a statement. Because right here I tap the page with my finger. The sound sharp as a slap is my signature. Every vendor is under my authority. And if I say stop, stops. A murmur spread like wildfire. The coordinator appeared at the edge of the room. Headset askew. Eyes darting nervously between me and the staff. She knew. Kevin grabbed my arm. Mom, please, don't do this. Not tonight. I pulled free. Why not? Tonight is perfect. Tonight, in front of everyone. You showed me exactly what I am to you, a checkbook. An ATM. Nothing more. Madison hissed. Her voice sharp enough to cut. Lower your voice. I raised it higher. No. You don't get to silence me. You don't get to erase me from my own son's wedding. The room fell into stunned silence. Even the clink of silverware stopped. I turned to the staff. My voice cold. Pack it up. Shut it down. Every single one of you works for me. And I am telling you now, this wedding is over. The coordinator froze. Her mouth opening and closing. Then she nodded once. Tight. You heard her. She said into her mic. The reaction was immediate. The band lowered their instruments. Waiters set down trays and backed away. The lights dimmed slightly as the technicians hesitated, hands hovering over the controls. Gasps erupted. A woman near the front whispered, "She's serious." Kevin's face was ashen. "Mom, please don't. You'll ruin everything." I looked him dead in the eye. Everything is already ruined. Madison lunged forward. Her hands clenched. "You selfish old." But the word cut off as one of the chandeliers dimmed, the staff already moving to dismantle equipment. The music fully dead now. The hum of the crowd grew louder, rising into chaos, while Madison's shriek rose over it all and Kevin grabbed her arm to hold her back as the first tray of untouched champagne flutes was carried swiftly out the door. The silence after my words lasted only a breath, and then the ballroom erupted. Guests gasped. Chairs scraped against the polished floor. Phones lifted higher as more people realized what was happening. The hum of whispered disbelief swelled into full-blown chatter. I stood firm in the center of the dance floor, the contract in my hand. My chin lifted. "You heard me." I repeated. Louder this time. "Shut it down. Every last piece of it." The coordinator's headset crackled as she spoke into it quickly. Within moments, the band began packing up their instruments. The violinist's bow dropped to his side. The drummer slid off his stool. One by one, the notes died completely. A waiter froze mid-pour over a glass of champagne. I caught his eye. "Set it down. Leave it." He obeyed instantly, lowering the bottle to the tray and backing away. Madison's scream tore through the chaos. "No. Keep going. Ignore her." But the staff didn't listen. They looked at her, then at me, then back at their coordinator. And she shook her head firmly. "This event is terminated," the coordinator said, her voice shaking but resolute. Madison spun on Kevin. Her face flushed red. "Do something. Tell them to stop. This is our wedding." Kevin raised his hands helplessly, his voice breaking. "Madison, I can't. It's her money. It's her contract." She slapped his arm, her voice shrill. "Then fix it. She's humiliating us in front of everyone." Guests murmured louder, some leaning forward, eyes wide with fascination, others whispering, "Is this real? Did the groom's mom just cancel the wedding?" Madison's father shoved his chair back, storming toward me. "This is outrageous. You don't have the right." I cut him off, my voice sharp as a blade. "The contract is in my name. Every invoice, every vendor, every signature mine. So unless you plan to write a check for $300,000 right now, you sit down and you shut your mouth." Gasps echoed. Phones tilted closer. Someone whispered, "Oh my God. She's fearless." Madison's father sputtered, his face purple. But he didn't take another step. Behind me, the florists began dismantling the massive arch of roses, petals scattering across the floor. A decorator pulled down the golden drapes covering the back wall. The illusion unraveled in minutes. Madison let out another scream, grabbing Kevin's arm with both hands. Stop them. Kevin, do something. He looked at me, his face pale. Mom, please. Don't do this. I turned to him, my voice calm but steady. You already did it, Kevin. When you decided I didn't deserve a seat. His mouth open, closed. No words came. Guests stood now, many openly filming, some murmuring encouragement under their breath. Good for her. About time someone put them in their place. Madison whipped around, spotting the phones. Turn those off. Stop recording. But no one listened. If anything, more cameras appeared. Red recording lights glowing like tiny stars across the ballroom. The DJ, uncertain, let his microphone dangle at his side. I pointed at him. Unplug it. He obeyed. The sound system went dead with a crackle. Madison clutched her bouquet so hard the stems snapped, petals raining to the ground. You're ruining my life, she shrieked. I stepped closer, meeting her eyes. No, Madison. I'm reclaiming mine. The coordinator moved swiftly through the staff, motioning with her hands. Platters were carried out. The cake was wheeled back toward the kitchen. Even the lights dimmed, leaving the room half in shadow. Guests gasped as the spectacle collapsed piece by piece. The grand fantasy crumbled before their eyes, all under my command. Kevin ran a hand through his hair, his voice hoarse. Mom, I'm begging you. Please, don't end it like this. I held his gaze, my voice cutting through the noise. Then tell me, Kevin, right here, right now, in front of everyone, am I your mother, or am I just a bank account? His lips parted, trembling, but he couldn't answer. Not a word came out. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. Madison's sobs filled the gap, ugly and uncontrolled. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks as she clung to him, shaking. She's destroying us, Kevin. She's destroying everything. And still, he said nothing. The staff rolled the last card away. The chandeliers dimmed to a soft glow. What had been a glittering wedding a half hour ago now looked like a half-finished rehearsal. Tables bare. Decorations half gone. I lowered the contract slowly, my hand steady, my eyes still locked on my son, waiting for the words that never came. As Madison's wail rose higher and the crowd pressed in closer, their phones raised, hungry for every last second of the collapse. Started with one flash, then another. Then a chorus of shutter clicks and glowing screens lit up the ballroom like stars against velvet. Everywhere I turned, a phone was pointed at me. Guests whispered as they filmed, their voices carrying in the silence left behind by the dead band and the dimmed lights. Is this real? She's shutting it all down. Look, she's got the contract. I could hear the captions writing themselves in their heads. Groom's mom cancels wedding. $300,000 disaster. Madison's mother shoved her chair back so hard it toppled. Put those phones away. This is private. But nobody listened. If anything, more guests raised their arms higher, capturing her red face, her pearls shaking against her chest as she yelled. Madison herself collapsed into a chair, bouquet ruined in her lap, mascara smeared. Why are you all just watching? Help me, she wailed. Kevin knelt beside her, one hand gripping hers, the other raking through his hair. Madison, stop. Please, stop. She jerked her hand away, pointing at me. Don't tell me to stop. Tell her to stop. Make her undo this. Kevin's lips trembled. I can't. The crowd's gasp was louder this time. They heard him. A man near the back called out, half amused, half shocked. So she really did pay for all this? Yes, Madison screeched, standing so fast her chair scraped against the floor. She paid. But it was for us. She gave it to us. She doesn't get to take it back. I turned slowly, letting my gaze sweep the room. For you, Madison, I didn't give you $300,000. I entrusted my son's happiness to this day. And look at what you've done with it. Gasp. Murmurs. Someone whispered. She's right. Madison's father stormed forward, his face red. Enough of this circus. You're humiliating our family in front of everyone. I squared my shoulders. Your family. You humiliated me the moment you let me stand at the back of the ceremony like I was nobody. You humiliated me when your daughter called me a distraction. All I've done is return the favor. Phones rose higher. The crowd cheered softly at that. Little pockets of applause breaking out. Madison's father froze, realizing every angle of his rage was being captured. Broadcasted. Probably live-streamed. He stepped back quickly, muttering under his breath. Kevin stood finally, his voice cracking. Mom, please. There are hundreds of people here. Don't let them see us like this. I held up the contract again, my voice cutting through the noise. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you made sure there was no seat for me. The silence after that was deafening. A guest near the dance floor whispered, loud enough to carry. She's got guts. Another answered, I'd do the same if my kid treated me like that. Madison's shriek broke the moment. Stop filming. All of you. Stop. She lunged toward a woman holding up her phone. The woman sidestepped easily, laughing as she kept recording. Don't worry, honey, the woman said, her voice dripping sarcasm. This'll look great online. The laughter from the crowd spread. Not cruel but sharp. Cutting through Madison's tantrum. Kevin grabbed her arms, pulling her back. Madison. Enough. You're just making it worse. Her sobs echoed, her body shaking against his. I took one step closer, lowering my voice but making sure every microphone picked it up. This is what happens when you try to erase me. You thought money bought silence. Instead, it bought me a megaphone. Phones caught every word. Flashes blinded. The coordinator approached cautiously, headset dangling from her neck. Mrs. Carter, do you want the hall cleared? I shook my head. No. Let them watch. Madison let out another broken cry. You're ruining everything. I raised the contract higher. No. Madison. I'm exposing everything. The words hung there, thick and heavy, while the band quietly carried out their instruments behind me, and the servers rolled the last untouched dishes out the back door. As the crowd pressed even closer, their cameras steady, their whispers swelling into a roar around us. By the next morning, my phone would not stop buzzing. I had fallen asleep on the couch in my little apartment, the contract folder still on the table beside me. When I opened my eyes, the light from the screen glared against the walls. Dozens of messages. Notifications stacked like bricks. Clicked one. A video loaded instantly. There I was, standing in the middle of the ballroom, folder raised high, my voice sharp as a blade. This wedding is over. The video already had 500,000 views. I scrolled. Another clip, me telling Madison's father to sit down unless he planned to write a check. 1,000,000 views. Then another, capturing Madison's scream as staff rolled the cake away. People in the comments were savage. Legend. Mother of the year. She snapped. And I'm here for it. Imagine calling your mom a burden after she dropped 300K. Couldn't be me. By noon, my name was trending. Hashtag wedding shutdown. Hashtag ATM no more. I rubbed my temples, trying to process. A knock rattled the door. When I opened it, 2 reporters stood there. Microphones ready. Cameras rolling. Mrs. Carter, we'd like your comment. Can you confirm you canceled your son's wedding after funding it? I stared at them for a long second, then stepped aside. Come in. They perched on my worn couch, their cameraman already filming. Mrs. Carter. One of them began. People online are calling you a hero, a cautionary tale, even an icon. How do you feel about that? I folded my hands in my lap. I'm not a hero. I'm a mother. A mother who spent $300,000 to make her son's dream day perfect. And when I showed up, there wasn't even a chair for me. The reporter nodded solemnly. And so you canceled everything? I met her eyes. I didn't cancel love. I didn't cancel vows. I canceled the illusion that you can erase someone who built you. I paid for respect. And when I didn't get it, I took my money back. The cameraman's head bobbed in quiet approval. The second reporter leaned forward. What do you say to critics who claim you embarrassed your son and his bride? I laughed softly, shaking my head. Embarrassed them? No. They embarrassed themselves the moment they chose to treat me like a checkbook instead of a person. All I did was hold up a mirror. The first reporter's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then smirked. It looks like the couple has gone private on all social media. Their accounts are locked. People are already pulling sponsorships from Madison's boutique. Kevin's company declined to comment. I raised an eyebrow. So now they know what it feels like to be shut out. The camera light glowed red. My reflection stared back from the lens, sharper than I remembered. When the reporters finally left, neighbors crowded the hallway, whispering. Mrs. Miller gave me a nod of approval. You did what every mother wishes she had the guts to do. Later that evening, the news anchor's voice filled my tiny living room. The viral video of Margaret Carter canceling her son's wedding has sparked national debate. Supporters hail her as an example of self-respect, while critics call the spectacle tragic. One thing is certain, her message has resonated. Parents deserve more than to be treated like wallets. Clips rolled across the screen again, my face, my voice, the stunned crowd. And then, in the corner of the footage, Kevin, standing pale, silent, useless. Madison, mascara streaked, screaming. Her parents fuming helplessly. The anchor concluded. When asked if she regretted her decision, Mrs. Carter told reporters, I don't regret saving myself from a lifetime of disrespect. I turned off the TV. The silence heavy. My tea kettle hissed softly in the kitchen, steam rising. And just as I reached for the handle, another knock rattled the door, this one faster, harder. I opened it to see Kevin on the other side, his tie loose, his eyes bloodshot, his voice trembling as he whispered, Mom, please, we need to talk. While Madison's shadow loomed behind him in the hall, her arms crossed, her glare sharp enough to cut. Kevin stood there like a boy caught sneaking out past curfew. Not a grown man who had just thrown me out of his life. His shoulders slumped, his suit wrinkled, his eyes red from lack of sleep. Behind him, Madison hovered like a storm cloud. Her arms crossed so tight her nails dug into her skin, lips pressed thin, eyes burning with fury. She looked less like a bride and more like someone on trial. Mom, Kevin whispered. Please, can we come in? I leaned against the door frame, keeping my grip steady. You came in just fine the day you slammed the door on me. Remember that? He winced. I was wrong. We were wrong. Madison snapped. Don't speak for me. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, still not sorry. Her nostrils flared. Sorry that you embarrassed us in front of hundreds of people? Sorry that you humiliated my parents on video? Sorry that my boutique lost every sponsorship overnight because you made us into a circus? I folded my arms. Interesting. Not one sorry for what you said about me. Not one sorry for treating me like an ATM. Kevin cut in quickly, voice breaking. I'm sorry. Mom, I should have stopped it. I should have spoken up. But it was all moving so fast. And Madison spun on him. Don't you dare blame me. He clutched his head with both hands. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just God. I'm trying to fix this. The hallway filled with silence again, heavy and suffocating. I let them squirm for a moment before I spoke. Fix it. Tell me, Kevin, if that video never went online, people weren't calling you out, would you be here right now? He opened his mouth, closed it. His silence was answer enough. Madison scoffed loudly. She doesn't care. Kevin. She just wants control. That's all this is. She thinks money buys her respect. I leaned closer, my voice sharp. Money didn't buy me respect. Money bought you a wedding, and you paid me back by erasing me from it. Respect is earned, Madison, and you've shown me exactly how little you deserve. Her cheeks flushed crimson. She turned away, muttering, "This is pointless." Kevin reached out, desperate. "Mom, please, just tell us what to do. How do we make this right?" I studied him, the son I had raised, the boy who once held my hand crossing the street, now standing hollow before me. Finally, I answered, "You don't make it right. Some things you can't take back." His eyes glistened. Then what happens now?" I opened the door wider, just enough for them to glimpse the neat little apartment behind me, the folder on the table. The news still paused on the TV screen with my face frozen mid-sentence. Then I let the door swing halfway shut again. What happens now is simple. I live my life. Without you. The way you want it. Kevin staggered back like I had struck him. Madison muttered something under her breath, pathetic, before grabbing his arm and tugging him toward the elevator. He resisted for a moment, looking at me one last time, lips parting as if to speak. But no words came, and I stood there, hand still on the door, watching as the elevator doors slid shut around them, and their reflection warped into nothing. The echo of Madison's heels fading down the hall while Kevin's voice cracked faintly through the gap, "Mom, please," before the door sealed completely. 2 days later, I stood in front of a cluster of cameras again, this time not at a ballroom, not as an uninvited guest, but as the only person the press wanted to hear from. The news station had set up a small podium outside their downtown office. Microphones from half a dozen outlets pointed toward me. Reporters jostled for position, shouting my name, flashing lights in my eyes. I adjusted the collar of my jacket, took a slow breath, and leaned toward the microphones. "Let me be clear," I began, my voice firm. "I didn't cancel love. I didn't cancel family. What I canceled was disrespect. What I canceled was being treated like a wallet instead of a mother." The reporters scribbled furiously, their cameras zooming in closer. A voice from the crowd called, "Mrs. Carter, do you regret what you did?" I shook my head. I regret that it had to come to that. I regret that my son didn't have the strength to tell his wife that his mother deserved a seat at his wedding. But regret my decision? I lifted my chin. No, not for a second. The murmurs swelled. Another question shot out. "Some say you've destroyed your relationship with your son. Do you think it can ever be repaired?" I let the silence stretch for a long moment. A relationship isn't destroyed by one public moment. It's destroyed by every private moment that came before it, every word that dismissed me, every look that cut me down, every time I was told I didn't matter. That's when it broke. All I did was show the world what had already happened. Applause rose from the bystanders at the edge of the crowd, people who had nothing to do with the story but had come just to see me speak. A younger reporter pushed forward. "Mrs. Carter, what's next for you? What do you plan to do now that your story has gone viral?" I smiled for the first time, a real smile that reached my eyes. I plan to live, to travel, to spend my money on myself, on causes I care about, on people who respect me. I spent too many years putting myself last. That ends today. The cameras clicked wildly. In the crowd, I spotted them. Kevin, standing back, half hidden under the awning, his hands shoved in his pockets. Madison beside him, sunglasses covering her face, jaw clenched. They looked smaller somehow, dimmer. Kevin's eyes met mine. He mouthed something. I think it was sorry. I didn't mouth anything back. A final question came from the back. "Mrs. Carter, if you could give one message to parents everywhere watching this, what would it be?" I stepped closer to the microphones, letting my voice cut through the noise, strong and unshaken. Don't wait for your children to give you respect. Claim it. Don't let anyone, family or not, erase you from your own story. Because at the end of the day, you write your ending, Not them. The cheers rose louder this time, drowning out the clicking cameras, while Kevin's face blurred in the crowd and Madison tugged at his arm, pulling him away as the microphone surged even closer toward me, and my words carried out into the air.